All right, sorry I had to interrupt that. This video software only lets me record a little bit at a time. Anyway, so I had finished talking about comparing the fixed ratio, fixed interval with variable ratio, variable interval. As far as learning, I was kind of talking about at the end that it is believed that variable is actually more effective for learning just because it is kind of unpredictable. Sometimes you get the reward, sometimes not. It might be depending on sometimes you do a certain number of behaviors or within a different time period. Sometimes it's this time period, sometimes it's not. Um, so yeah, in general, it does seem like having it be a little unpredictable can actually help with learning. Another thing to think about with the reinforcement schedule is when to provide the reinforcement, if it should be right after the behavior, or maybe there's the behavior and then there's a delay and then there's a reinforcement. So why don't you take a few seconds? What do you think would be best? Should we have a delay or should the reinforcement be right after the behavior? Um, so hopefully you're thinking that right after the behavior is the way to go, and that would be correct. That's the way to go. If you have something, if you have a certain behavior and then you have a delay in between you give the reward, it doesn't really help with learning because then you're not really sure what am I being rewarded for. You get an A on the test and then a couple days later your parents give you $1. It's like, thanks, but what's it for? So it can be a little bit harder than to learn, what is the behavior that you want me to do. You might just forget it or it's not very helpful for learning. So right after the behavior is better than doing the delay. Another factor that we talked about was the motivation for the reinforcer, the drive. If there is a motivational need or desire for a particular reinforcer or reinforcement, if it doesn't really mean anything to a person, then it doesn't really help for learning. We have a clip from The Big Bang Theory, so let's watch that. We should make this big too. Oops. Oh, what happened? Oh, we have an ad. Okay. Nope. Oh. Oh, something, smart ad, apparently. Skip ad. Don't want to watch that. We want to watch this. Oh. Unfortunately, I was trying to make this full screen and this should do it, but doesn't seem like it's working. So hopefully on your screens you can make it full size so you can see it a little bit better, but we can still see it. In case you don't watch the show that much, I don't actually watch it that much either, but this is a good example. We're going to see a positive reinforcement. So we have Penny is this girl here. This is Sheldon, and this I believe is Leonard. So we're going to see Sheldon doing some positive reinforcement for Penny. Okay, so let's watch. Oops. All of these ads popping up. We don't. Ah. Oh well. Let's just watch over the ad. I'm actually going to skip a little bit. Feel free to watch some more, but I want to get to another example here where Penny is going to use positive reinforcement for Leonard. So let's try to, let's see if we can skip ahead. Apparently we can't. Let me try to figure this out. Okay, so let's pick this up with Penny and Leonard. Okay, so let's get out of here. And, come back here. Okay, so we saw a few things here. We saw some reinforcement with Sheldon reinforcing Penny, and they even actually explained it too, that Sheldon was looking for what he thought was correct behavior and then gave her a chocolate every time. So that was continuous reinforcement because pretty much every time she did a behavior that he thought was the correct proper behavior, he gave her a chocolate. It was positive reinforcement. You know, he was giving her something yummy, yummy chocolate to increase her behavior of doing this correct behavior. We saw that it was occurring right after the behavior. So, you know, every time she did this behavior, right after Sheldon offered her a chocolate. And then one thing too is that we saw, you know, the chocolate was kind of this primary type enforcer or reinforcer that we talked about before, has to do with your biological needs, so, you know, food. But of course, you know, later on they were talking about what Penny did with Leonard. You know, he helps her put her bed together and then, you know, they would, you know, have sex and those things. And Sheldon was kind of talking about, like, I wonder if anyone has ever thought of sex as kind of this reinforcer or using for behavior. Um, and so that's, you know, again, another kind of biological type need, you know, sexual, you know, activities, those things. And so that could be something that maybe has a greater desire, greater motivational need for people, as opposed to something like chocolate, although I find chocolate as a great reinforcement. But so something like that is that some things might matter more, you know, like what's more important to you, chocolate or sex. And I don't actually want an answer, but you know that people have, you know, different desires or needs. Anyway, moving on. Some other applications of reinforcement, you know, we saw obviously with the Big Bang Theory. Any kind of behavior modification, anything that you want to change, like any bad habits, which I know I definitely have some. Yeah, I kind of bite my nails, and I know they have that special nail polish that tastes really yucky when you try to bite your nail. So you put it on your nails, and then when you bite your nail, then you have this yucky taste. So then it's, you know, to avoid biting your nails, it's to take away this, it's negative reinforcement. You're taking away this aversive stimulus of this yucky stuff on your nails to increase the behavior of not biting your nails. A friend of mine in college, she was trying to lose weight. She was trying to get herself out to the gym, and so whenever she would go to the gym, she would have a sweet treat afterwards, which to me seems like it kind of defeats the purpose of going to the gym and losing weight if you're just going to have a big sugary fatty food afterwards. But it did help her. At least it did motivate her to get to the gym. So I don't know. Maybe I should try that too. But again, kind of, you know, you can reward yourself. You can have, you know, with that yucky nail polish thing, that's something, take away a negative stimulus to increase behavior, or of course, you know, reward yourself with chocolate, things like that. So here's the first pop quiz. So for each one, I want, we have, you know, 4 little scenarios here. And I want you to identify whether it's a fixed ratio, fixed interval, variable ratio, or variable interval, and why you think it is. Some of these are a little bit tricky. That's why I do want to make sure we understand it all, and we'll talk about it in class next time. So remember, for each one, say which schedule it is, fixed ratio, fixed interval, variable ratio, or variable interval, and also explain why you think it is both fixed and or both. Explain why you think it's fixed or variable. Explain why it's ratio or interval. So again, it's okay if you are a little confused, try your best, and it's something that we'll talk about in class. So moving on a little bit, so we've talked about reinforcement. You have the positive and negative reinforcement, and the focus of using reinforcement is to increase behavior. Punishment is a little bit different. We do still have positive and negative punishment, as we'll talk about, but unlike reinforcement, that is to increase behavior, punishment is to decrease behavior. So whatever punishment is used, whatever the punisher is, all of the focus is to decrease behavior. So again, punishment, you do have an aversive stimulus, something not nice, different from reinforcement where you can have something nice given to you, but punishment is something unpleasant that can be, again, intended to decrease a certain behavior. And just again, the focus of punishment is to decrease behavior. Okay, so we have a couple of types of punishment. We have the positive and negative. The positive punishment is when you add on an aversive stimulus after a certain behavior, and again, the intention is to decrease that behavior. So for example, getting a speeding ticket. We're speeding, you're going, 15, 20 miles over the limit, which can be dangerous in some cases. So it's, a good thing that we do get speeding tickets. I mean, we shouldn't, be driving dangerously, right? So the speeding ticket is to, discourage you from speeding. You get something added on, you get an aversive stimulus, you have to pay whatever the fine is, and that is to decrease your speeding behavior. This is a little bit fun. The policeman is giving him $100 fine for speeding, and then $250 for misleading the public, which is coming at what his license plate is saying, and that. So anyway, that was just a little funny. But again, kind of adding on fines and tickets and things like that to decrease this behavior of speeding and, in his case, misleading the public. Negative punishment is where you take away a pleasant stimulus after a certain behavior, and again, that focus is on decreasing that behavior. So maybe if you got an allowance when you were growing up, and then maybe you did something bad and your parents took away your allowance or took away your money, so that could be something. Or maybe when you were a little bit younger, you were misbehaving as a child and your parents took away your playtime. So they gave you a timeout, which is really taking away your freedom, taking away your playtime. So it's taking away something nice to, again, decrease that behavior of behaving badly or doing whatever that your parents took away your allowance. There are some factors that affect punishment. One of them, of course, is the type of punishment and kind of the, I guess, intensity. We know that having some more intense punishments can work better than mild punishments, although it depends. Some people are more sensitive to punishment, some people are less sensitive. Schedule of punishment, kind of like with reinforcement, it matters about, if there's a delay or not, if it's, kind of consistent, whenever a certain behavior is performed by someone, whenever they misbehave or something like that, that there is kind of that consequence of, punishment or of reinforcement too. It's good to actually do if you're going to do punishment, it's good to have concurrent reinforcement. So you're reinforcing, rewarding the good behavior and maybe punishing the bad behavior. But so it's not just all about punishment, but kind of this balance. And then a verbal rationale, especially for thinking about raising kids.